So far with the past tense, we have looked at verbs which form the past tense with the auxiliary avoir. That is the word that comes in the second position. For example, tu as mangé. The a is from avoir. However, there are a group of verbs which form the past tense with etre and therefore have etre as their auxiliary verb. So by auxiliary, we mean in the second position. So this is something you're already familiar with. J'ai mangé, tu as parlé. First one translating as I have eaten or I ate, and the second one as you have spoken or you spoke. And you can see the 1, 2, 3 system really clearly. The 1 showing the subject, the 2 showing the auxiliary, in this case with avoir, and the 3rd showing the past participle. However, there are a group of verbs which form the past tense with etre rather than with avoir. This means that you have to change the word in the second position. So instead of j'ai, you would have to say je suis plus past participle. Instead of tu as, you have, you would have to say tu es, you are plus past participle, and so on. Here are a couple of examples. Je suis allé. This translates as I went or I have been. Aller, the past participle, comes from the verb aller, to go. You can still see the 1, 2, 3 system really clearly. The 1 showing the subject, the 2 showing the auxiliary, which is now forming with the verb être rather than avoir, and the 3rd still has the past participle. Tu es allé would translate as you have been or you went. So now you're probably wondering why some verbs form in the past tense with avoir and why others form in the past tense with être. Basically, the thing you need to remember is that any verb which is to do with movement forms in the past tense with être. On the screen you can see a picture showing all the different types of verb which form the past tense with être. Pause the video and using wordreference.com find out what all of these verb infinitives mean and write them down. Hopefully now you've found and written down the translations for most, if not all, of the verbs. Let's just quickly check. If we start with number 1, retourner, that means to return. 2, monter is to go up. Descendre, number 3, is to go down. 4, tomber is to fall. 5, rester is to stay. 6, venir is to come. 7, aller is to go. 8, sortir is to go out. 9, entrer is to enter. 10, arriver is to arrive. 11, partir is to leave. 12, naître is to be born. And 13, mourir is to die. All of these have something to do with movement, except arguably for 12 and 13. These still form with être, naître and mourir, okay? You need to basically think of these as movement of the soul. So not physical movement, but by being born, there's some form of movement of the soul, and also with dying, there's movement of the soul. This is why these two verbs still form the past tense with être. Right, let's see some examples then. There are 4 sentences on the screen. Pause the video and try and work out how you might translate these 4 phrases. When you're done, press play to see the answers. So, je suis parti can mean I left or I have left. Je suis monté, I went up or I have gone up. Je suis revenu, I came back or I have come back, and je suis tombé, I fell or I have fallen. There's one final thing we need to look at with the past tense verbs which form with être. Only these types of verb have to agree in terms of number and gender with the subject of the sentence. This simply means that if, for example, a girl is talking and she says je suis allée, because she is a woman, she has to add an extra e onto allée. In the second example, nous sommes allés, I've added an extra s because nous, we, is plural, i.e. more than one. So we went, in French, you have to end aller with an extra s to show that it's plural. Finally, elles sont allées. This is feminine and it's also plural because it's they, feminine plural, went. In that case, you add an extra E to denote the feminine and an extra S to denote the plural. You might think it's quite difficult to remember all of these verbs which form with être in the past tense, but here on the screen is a trick to help you remember them. To help you remember them, always think back to Mrs. van der Tramp. This helps you to list all of the verbs which form the past tense with être.